Good morning to everyone present here. I am truly grateful for this moment to share a thought that has the power to transform our lives and the lives around us. We live in a world where people are constantly busy, constantly present, constantly available. But today's message encourages us to rise above that, to not just be present in the world, but to add value to it. The title for today's talk is Be Valuable, Not Just Available. There are many people around us who show up, who are always there, who are constantly accessible, but very few who make a difference. Being available to everyone may win you attention, but being valuable to others earns you respect, trust, and love. Invest in yourself first, because the foundation of your value in the world begins with who you choose to become. In a world where people constantly demand your time, attention, and presence, it is easy to lose yourself in fulfilling everyone's expectations. But remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you focus only on being available for others, you end up neglecting the most important person in your life, yourself. Personal growth is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the process of sharpening your mind, strengthening your character, nurturing your emotional balance, and enhancing your skills. People admire those who bring knowledge, clarity, and confidence to the table. And those qualities only develop when you dedicate time to building them within yourself. Investing in yourself means taking responsibility for your own progress. It means choosing to learn even when no one is watching, practicing when no one is asking, and improving when no one is applauding. It is a quiet, disciplined journey. There will be days when it feels lonely. There will be days when progress appears slow. But every minute you spend reading, every effort you put into practicing, every challenge you choose to face instead of avoid is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more valuable. Growth does not happen instantly. It is built brick by brick through daily habits. Whether it is reading a few pages, learning a new skill, improving communication, or simply reflecting on your actions, these small efforts accumulate and eventually create a powerful change. The world rewards those who bring value. When you invest in yourself, your words carry weight. Your presence radiates maturity. Your decisions reflect clarity. People will begin to trust your judgment because they can sense the depth behind your thoughts. You won't need to seek validation because your confidence will not come from others. It will come from the knowledge that you have worked on yourself. And when your confidence is rooted in competence, it becomes unshakable. You stand firm, not because others believe in you, but because you believe in yourself. Many people spend their lives trying to be liked, trying to stay relevant, or trying to keep up with others. However, the real way to stay relevant is to keep growing. When you stop investing in yourself, your value becomes stagnant. But when you continue learning, evolving, and refining your strengths, you naturally rise above. Opportunities come not to those who are always present, but to those who are prepared. And preparation is a direct result of self-investment. Investing in yourself also means taking care of your emotional and mental well-being. Your mind is your strongest tool, and how you nurture it affects every aspect of your life. Practice patience, learn self-control, create discipline, and develop emotional maturity. These internal strengths define how you respond to challenges and how you influence others. When your inner world is strong, the outer world cannot easily shake you. Surround yourself with inspiration. Spend time with people who encourage growth, not those who drain your energy. Seek environments that elevate your thinking, not ones that make you settle for mediocrity. Protect your focus, because where your attention goes, your life follows. At the end of the day, investing in yourself is the greatest gift you can give to your future. It shapes your identity, your career, your relationships, and your impact. When you work on being valuable, the right opportunities, the right people, and the right respect naturally follow. You won't need to chase them, they will gravitate toward you. Quality over quantity is a principle that often gets overlooked in a world that glorifies busyness. Many people believe that the more they do, the more meaningful and appreciated they will be. They assume that being present in every situation, responding to every request, and participating in every activity displays commitment and value. But true value does not lie in how often you appear. It lies in the depth of the impact you make when you do. A single meaningful contribution can outweigh 100 shallow efforts. The power is not in being everywhere. It is in being effective where you choose to be. When you focus on quantity, you scatter your energy, you spread yourself thin, and as a result, your influence becomes weak. Your words lose depth, your presence loses intention, and your actions lose clarity. Constant availability may make you visible, but only quality makes you memorable. Think of a teacher who lectures for hours without truly engaging the class versus one who speaks for a few minutes, but leaves thoughts that stay with you for life. The difference is not time. It is intention and depth. Quality carries weight. Quality is what reaches the heart, challenges the mind, and inspires action. Developing quality requires patience and conscious effort. It demands that you slow down, observe, learn, and reflect. When you speak, speak with understanding. When you act, act with purpose. When you listen, listen with full attention. A meaningful presence has no shortcuts. It is built through awareness and self-discipline. To offer quality, you must understand yourself well and be selective with where you place your energy. Not everything deserves your attention, and not every situation requires your presence. Choose wisely where you invest your time, because time is not something you get back once it is spent. Quality also applies to your relationships. Being around someone frequently does not guarantee closeness or trust. True connection grows through sincerity, empathy, and honesty. Even a short conversation can strengthen a bond if it is genuine and thoughtful. Similarly, showing up occasionally but offering genuine support is far more meaningful than being constantly present but emotionally absent. People remember how you made them feel, not how often they saw you. In your personal growth, quality means focusing deeply on learning rather than rushing to complete tasks. Reading one page with full understanding is better than reading 10 pages without absorbing anything. Practicing one skill until mastered is better than dabbling in many with no progress. Excellence is born from focused effort. When your approach becomes selective and deliberate, your results become powerful. Professional success also follows the principle of quality. A person who delivers exceptional work occasionally is more trusted than someone who produces average work frequently. Employers, clients, and leaders value reliability, consistency, and craftsmanship. They look for people who understand their responsibilities well and execute them with care. When your work displays thoughtfulness, precision, and passion, people notice. Recognition becomes a natural outcome, not something you must chase. To embody quality, you must learn to pause. Understand the difference between activity and progress. Motion does not always equal growth. Sometimes silence builds strength. Sometimes stepping back adds clarity. Sometimes doing less allows you to do better. The world may pressure you to keep moving, keep talking, keep appearing, but true maturity lies in knowing when to stop and refine yourself. When your presence carries quality, it speaks louder than your words and longer than your time. By embracing quality over quantity, you step into a life of intention rather than obligation. You choose depth over noise, meaning over activity, and purpose over habit. And when you do, your impact grows stronger. Your presence becomes valued, and your identity becomes respected, not because you were everywhere, but because wherever you were, you made it count. Setting boundaries with confidence is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect. Many people struggle with saying no because they fear disappointing others, losing relationships, or being perceived as selfish. However, the inability to set limits often leads to emotional exhaustion, stress, and loss of identity. When you allow yourself to be constantly available, constantly accommodating, and constantly adjusting to everyone else's expectations, you slowly begin to neglect your own needs and priorities. True strength is not in how much you tolerate, but in how clearly you define what you are willing to accept. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are guidelines that help others understand how to treat you. Confidence in setting boundaries comes from recognizing your worth. When you value your time, your peace, and your mental space, you naturally become more selective about what you allow into your life. You begin to understand that your energy is a limited resource that deserves protection. If you give too much to situations that drain you, you leave no energy for the situations that matter. It is impossible to grow, create, or contribute meaningfully if you are constantly depleted. Saying no is not a rejection of others. It is an affirmation of yourself. It reflects the understanding that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's. People who respect themselves are able to communicate their limits clearly and respectfully. They do not apologize for prioritizing their peace. They do not feel guilty for needing time to recharge or for choosing themselves in moments when they feel overwhelmed. Confident boundaries are communicated calmly, without anger or explanation. You do not need to justify your decisions to anyone. Your life, your goals, and your energy are your responsibility. Those who truly care for you will appreciate your honesty and respect your space. Those who do not respect your boundaries reveal their intentions, and their absence is a blessing. Setting boundaries also strengthens your relationships. When expectations are clear, trust and understanding grow naturally. Boundaries prevent resentment, misunderstandings, and emotional pressure. For example, if you always say yes when you want to say no, you will eventually feel frustrated and taken for granted. Over time, this leads to emotional distance and conflicts. By expressing your limits early and respectfully, you allow relationships to form on mutual respect instead of obligation. Healthy boundaries create healthier connections. There will always be people who push your boundaries, not because they intentionally want to harm you, but because they benefit from the version of you that does not say no. Their reaction to your boundaries is not a reflection of your worth, but of their dependency on your compliance. Stand firm. Confidence grows every time you choose your peace over external pressure. With practice, setting boundaries becomes less uncomfortable and more natural. Boundaries also help you focus on your goals. When you are not constantly pulled into unnecessary commitments, you gain the space to think, create, and progress. You become more productive because your time is invested intentionally rather than emotionally. Boundaries teach you to prioritize what truly matters and release what does not contribute to your growth. They help you shift from living reactively to living purposefully. The journey of setting boundaries requires courage and patience. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to pleasing others. But the discomfort is temporary and the benefits are long-lasting. Every time you stand up for your needs, you build emotional strength. Every time you refuse to compromise your well-being, you reinforce your dignity. And every time you choose yourself, you send a message to the world that your value is not negotiable. Focusing on growth rather than approval is a transformative mindset that separates those who merely exist from those who truly evolve. Many people spend a significant portion of their lives trying to be liked, accepted, and admired. They adjust their actions, language, opinions, and even dreams just to fit into someone else's expectations. This constant need for approval can quietly shape your identity according to the desires of others rather than the calling of your own purpose. The truth is, when you seek approval, you hand over control of your confidence to external hands. Your self-worth becomes dependent on how others see you, and your success becomes fragile because it is built on unstable ground. Growth, on the other hand, is something deeply personal and internal. It is rooted in your own commitment to becoming better than you were yesterday. It requires honesty. Honesty to recognize flaws, patience to learn, discipline to practice, and courage to change. Growth asks you to choose progress even when no one is watching, to build yourself quietly without seeking applause. Approval may give temporary satisfaction, but growth gives long-lasting fulfillment. Approval fades as soon as attention shifts. Growth, once developed, stays with you for life. When you shift your focus from being liked to being improved, your priorities change. You start valuing knowledge over compliments, effort over appearance, and integrity over popularity. You stop competing with others and start competing with who you were yesterday. You begin to understand that mistakes are not failures, but lessons that refine your understanding. Growth-oriented individuals do not fear criticism. They absorb it, evaluate it, and use it to improve. When your identity is built on growth, criticism does not shake you. It shapes you. Seeking approval often leads to emotional exhaustion. You constantly worry about opinions, judgments, and perceptions. You hesitate to express your true thoughts or take bold steps because you fear how others may react. This fear holds you captive in a life that is smaller than your potential. But when you commit to growth, you learn to move forward even when others do not agree or support you. You stop asking for permission to evolve. You take responsibility for your journey. You realize that your life is too valuable to be guided by the temporary opinions of others. The world may not always applaud your effort. Sometimes people will misunderstand you, criticize you, or fail to appreciate your progress. But growth does not require validation. Real growth is quiet. It happens in moments of self-reflection, in hours of dedication, in repeated failures that teach resilience. Approval seeks recognition, growth seeks mastery. And mastery is far more meaningful than applause. Your confidence begins to transform when your identity is built on growth. You no longer depend on compliments to feel worthy. You recognize your value because you have worked for it, earned it, strengthened it. Confidence rooted in growth is steady. It does not rise and fall with public opinion. It stands firm because it is built on real ability, real learning, and real self-understanding. Let others talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them judge. Their opinions belong to them, not to you. Your responsibility is to keep evolving, keep improving, and keep walking your path. The world eventually respects those who grow consistently, even if they were once doubted. Approval is temporary, but growth is permanent. When you grow, you rise, not because others lifted you, but because you elevated yourself. Making your presence inspiring is not about grand gestures or dramatic displays. It is about the subtle yet powerful influence your character, words, and actions have on others. When you enter a room, the energy you carry communicates more than your voice ever could. Some individuals walk into a place and instantly bring peace, clarity, and confidence. Others bring chaos, noise, and confusion. The question to ask yourself is, what effect does your presence create? To inspire others, you must first cultivate the qualities within yourself that represent strength, empathy, understanding, and wisdom. Inspiration is not taught through speeches alone. It is transmitted through the way you live, behave, and respond to life. Your presence becomes inspiring when you live in alignment with your values. People notice consistency more than claims. Anyone can speak about kindness, but the one who practices it silently influences hearts. Anyone can preach patience, but the one who remains calm in difficulty sets an example that others remember. To inspire, you do not need to be perfect. You simply need to be real. Authenticity has a depth that touches people. When you are genuine, others feel safe to be themselves around you. They feel seen, valued, and understood. And that feeling is one of the most powerful forms of inspiration. Inspiration grows when you genuinely listen. Most individuals listen to reply, not to understand. But when you listen with presence, when you give your full attention to someone, they feel respected, they feel important. Your ability to listen may uplift someone more than any advice you could give. A truly inspiring presence is rooted not in being the loudest voice in the room, but in being the calm strength that others can rely on. Sometimes your silence offers more comfort than your words. The depth of your presence lies in the quality of your attention. To inspire others, you must also manage your emotional state. People are influenced more by how you handle your struggles than by how you talk about your strengths. When faced with challenges, maintaining composure does not mean avoiding emotion. It means responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. When people see you approach difficulties with grace and mindfulness, they learn something valuable, that challenges can be handled with dignity. Such lessons are not learned from lectures, but from observing how you live. Your presence is also shaped by the intentions you carry. Some people walk into situations with the intention to impress, while others walk in with the intention to uplift. The difference is noticeable. When your goal is to support, encourage, and bring positivity, you create a lasting impact. People remember how you made them feel at their lowest moments. Even a simple gesture, a smile of reassurance, a few words of encouragement, a moment of patience can shift someone's day or perspective. Continuous self-improvement contributes greatly to an inspiring presence. When others witness your growth, your willingness to learn, to change, to correct mistakes, they feel encouraged to grow as well. Inspiration is contagious. Your development motivates others to develop themselves. It is not about being superior, but about being a living reminder that growth is possible. Ultimately, your presence becomes inspiring when you live with purpose, humility, and compassion. When people feel lighter, more hopeful, or more motivated after interacting with you, that is when you know your presence carries value. You do not need to announce your influence. It reveals itself in the silent changes you bring into the hearts and minds of others. The most powerful inspiration is never forced. It simply radiates from who you consistently choose to be. Being known for your contribution rather than your mere presence is a mark of true influence and character. Many people move through life being seen, heard, and noticed, yet they leave behind very little that genuinely matters. What distinguishes a meaningful life from an ordinary one is not how often you appear, but what you offer when you do. Contribution is not always a matter of grand achievements. Sometimes it is the small gestures, the sincere guidance, the thoughtful support, and the quiet acts of kindness that leave the deepest impact. When your presence enriches the lives of others, you become someone whose absence is felt, not because of dependency, but because of the inspiration you brought. To contribute meaningfully, you must first build something within yourself worth sharing. Knowledge, empathy, wisdom, skills, these are inner resources that grow through experience, reflection, and effort. When you invest in developing them, you naturally begin to uplift others in subtle but powerful ways. People are drawn to those who not only speak with clarity, but live with purpose. They look up to those who not only understand life intellectually, but embody maturity in their behavior. A valuable contribution comes from a person who is balanced, aware, and considerate. Someone who gives without needing to announce that they gave. Someone who understands that contribution is not performance, but sincerity. Contribution requires awareness. You must learn to observe what people need, sometimes a solution, sometimes guidance, sometimes simply a kind presence. When you approach life with the mindset of serving rather than impressing, you begin to see opportunities to make a difference in moments others may overlook. It can be encouraging a friend at the right time, sharing knowledge that helps someone move forward, or simply offering patience to someone who feels unheard. These subtle contributions shape human connections in a profound way. People remember those who helped them grow. They remember those who made them believe in themselves when they doubted their abilities. They remember those who treated them with dignity when they felt weak. Contribution creates legacy, not a legacy of fame, but a legacy of heart. When others speak of you with respect and warmth, when your impact continues through their actions, that is when you have truly contributed. To be known for your contribution, you must also learn to act without expecting recognition. The most meaningful contributions are often the ones no one sees. It is easy to do something kind when appreciation is guaranteed. It is harder to do it when no one is watching and no praise follows. But growth happens in those unseen moments. Contribution rooted in sincerity builds character. The kind of character that influences without effort and teaches without speaking. Your contribution also reflects your priorities. When your focus is on adding value rather than gaining approval, your interactions change. You become more intentional with your words. You become more responsible with your actions. You start valuing depth over attention, consistency over appearances, and integrity over convenience. This is how influence is formed, not through dominance, but through reliability. Over time, people come to recognize those who uplift rather than drain, who guide rather than control, who support rather than compete. These individuals become anchors in the lives of others. They are remembered not because they were always present, but because when they were present, they brought something meaningful. Being known for your contribution means choosing to make your life useful. It means choosing purpose over popularity, authenticity over appearance, and impact over impression. When you live in a way that leaves others stronger, wiser, or more hopeful than before, your name becomes more than an identity. It becomes a source of inspiration. So my dear friends, in this journey of life, let us choose to go beyond availability. Let us choose to be individuals who add freshness, hope, strength, and inspiration to the lives around us. Remember this: availability makes you common, but value makes you unforgettable. Thank you so much. Be valued. Stay blessed.